Mercedes are reportedly very close to making the biggest bombshell move in the drivers' market after Hamilton's departure to Ferrari, as it's reported that they'll have lengthy conversations with Max Verstappen after the Miami GP with all three of the shareholders from Mercedes. With the staggering amounts that have been reported that Verstappen will receive in the Brackley-based squad, as well as the guaranteed ambassador role, Jos Verstappen has opened up on this move and has stirred up the pot even further. So with this in mind, could we see an entirely different drivers lineup in 2025, and will Verstappen be the leader of this movement? It's safe to say that Mercedes has the most attractive seat for the 2025 season, but given the circumstances in which the team is currently struggling for performance and understanding of their car, which they've changed 3 times in the course of 3 seasons, it might not be as easy as it sounds. This is why drivers like Alonso decided that they would be much better to continue in a team like Aston Martin, who are on a steady uprise and know and understand what they want and need from the car. But that's not Mercedes' belief at all. They're planning to bring on Verstappen under special circumstances that the 3 shareholders of the team, Toto Wolff, Ola Källenius and Jim Ratcliffe, will share with the Dutchman and his team. Obviously, the number one thing that will be discussed is the competitiveness of Mercedes, because drivers like Verstappen are not interested in driving for a team that has no potential to win races or championships whatsoever. Right now, Mercedes does seem to be that team, even though a wild theory is circulating that maybe the problem is Russell and Hamilton and their incapability of extracting the maximum out of the W15, which would be a theory that will be put directly under a test if Verstappen decides to join Mercedes from 2025 onwards. And despite all of this situation not being money related to Verstappen, it's obvious that Mercedes would have to come up with a lucrative offer if they were to get the interest from the Dutchman's camp. Apart from the staggering 100 million euros per year that have been reported as the initial offer from Mercedes, the Silver Arrows are ready to make the 3-time world champion an ambassador for the team and have long-term plans with him on other fields rather than racing. The question is whether Verstappen could forget what happened during the 2021 season and the fierce rivalry, but given the fact that Hamilton joined Ferrari, a team which he battled so hard throughout his career, I don't think this will represent a huge issue for the Dutchman after all. And be that as it may, one couldn't help but note the selfish move from Mercedes, where they weren't open to offering the ambassador role to Hamilton and 2 guaranteed years of driving, which was primarily due to his age. However, scoring 6 drivers' championships for the team has not been enough for Hamilton to secure what he wants, and whether we like it or not, Mercedes is seeing the entire situation from a purely business-related point of view. The momentum is on Max's side. He's the one who could bring them back to where they were, and quite frankly, there aren't many drivers in which Mercedes would be interested at this point. However, it's been reported that Verstappen has been offered a contract under special circumstances, in which he'll be able to poach some of the engineers from Red Bull, as well as Helmut Marko, to whom he has expressed his undisputed loyalty with the ongoing drama in Red Bull's internal power struggle. All of this is a no-hassle situation for Mercedes, who are desperate to bring in the 3, soon-to-be 4-time world champion in their rows. And if you think about it, the challenge of changing environment and proving that you can win championships with a team that has effectively dropped in the midfield in 2024 is not something that Verstappen would be throwing away for the comfort zone that he has in Red Bull. This is a situation that's been discussed by Jos Verstappen as well, the man who said that while Horner remains in charge at Red Bull, there will be a lot of struggles and a lot of people will be unhappy in their positions. Many laughed at him and Toto Wolff when the Austrian said the exact same thing. But now that this meeting has been scheduled for after the Miami GP, we could be seeing a massive exodus from Red Bull that won't see Verstappen as the only high-profile member to leave the team, but Adrian Newey also, with a 65-year-old potentially holding the key to this entire situation. When talking about his son's movement in the current drivers' market, Jos went on to say, "I think everybody wants Max. Only I think Max is right for the moment. He has a fast car, but we also have to look further to 2026, so we're letting everything come to us at the moment. We stay very calm and we see what will happen." Well, this is the biggest hint that Jos could have dropped for the future of Max, because while the Austrian team is trying to hide the drama that is happening behind the curtains by applauding on the podium and playing this huge happy family, it's obvious that there are undergoing processes from which the team might not be able to recover from. Not only did Jos and Max take their side with Helmut Marko in this entire power shift process, in which Horner has been dubbed to take an even higher role than what he has right now, the one from Oliver Mintzlaff, who is currently the CEO of the team, but the 2026 regulations will also play a massive role in where Verstappen lands. Horner has recently admitted that his team is entering a period in which they have 70 years of deficit compared to Ferrari, and on paper, Red Bull will be rookies just like Audi, with the only difference that they've been able to extract a lot of knowledge and experience from their own power units from 2022 onwards. Only with a small difference that they're still relying on Honda's intellectual property to develop their own engine. But from 2026 onwards, it'll be an entirely different picture. Honda is joining Aston Martin, whereas Red Bull will be left on their own, and while Horner's predictions are quite optimistic, he did raise his concerns about the performance of the cars in general, comparing them to a failed experiment due to the FIA trying to bring too much details into a sport that is slowly but surely shading away from its roots. However, this is an issue that's been pointed out solely by him, and not by the other team principals, which could indicate that he understands the position he and his team are currently in, and if we are to look at the results, it's not that Red Bull is such a dominant team as much as Verstappen is extracting every single bit of performance from the car. Compare him to Perez and imagine that in 2025, Perez would be the #1 driver in Red Bull, and you wouldn't bet that the Drivers' Championship would go in Red Bull's hands after the first 5 races of the season, and this is something Wolff knows better than anybody else. Now, many have called him a madman for trying to sign Verstappen from 2025 onwards and for keeping the seat open for as long as he could, not trying to bring additional pressure to Antonelli, but now it seems like Mercedes are more than willing to sign the Dutchman under any circumstances. This is not a secret. It's something that Wolff has spoken about, saying that if Verstappen changes his mind about continuing with Red Bull, then the seat in Mercedes is definitely his. Furthermore, Wolff went on to say that the relationship between Max and Mercedes is not a question of if, but when it should happen, further adding more drama to the entire situation. When talking about this from his own perspective and what Mercedes could do in order to lure Max into their own camp, Wolff said, "There are so many factors that play a role in a driver joining, and clearly when you look at it from the most rational point of view, you can say that it is the quickest car in the hands of the quickest driver. But I don't think that this is the only reason you stay where you are. Maybe there are some more depths for some people who consider other factors too. I think Max has that." With all this in mind, it would be interesting to see what the Miami GP will bring us from the off-track perspective. And if we are to judge by the statements from Jos Verstappen, it's obvious that Max Verstappen's future in Red Bull is all but secured despite the long-term contract he has until 2028. So, where do you think Max will end up in the upcoming season? And more importantly, do you think that Mercedes has the package to convince Max that they'll be in a position to fight for championships from 2026, potentially even 2025, through his and his engineers' help? Let us know in the comments down below.